The files were declassified in 1996, but the real story had been buried long before they were ever stamped secret. June 5, 1944. Adolf Hitler slept past 11. Standing orders: never wake the Führer before noon. The generals who could have moved 60 panzer tanks to the beaches sat idle, paralyzed by the most successful classified deception operation in military history. Operation Bodyguard, a cover-up so complete that Germany's own intelligence apparatus was feeding false intelligence directly to the High Command. 156,000 Allied troops crossed the Channel that morning. Thousands were dead within the first hour. 4 miles inland, the armor that could have crushed them never moved, because Hitler was waiting for an invasion that British intelligence had manufactured from nothing. So what exactly did they bury in those classified files that took 50 years to unseal? Of fabricated spies, and one man with a story so convincing that Germany gave him a medal for destroying them. The deception operation had a name: Fortitude. It was not one lie, it was a system. By 1943, British intelligence had done something that had never been done at that scale. They had identified and turned every German spy operating inside the United Kingdom, every single one. The program was called the XX system, double cross. It gave Britain total control over what Germany's intelligence network reported back to Berlin. Every message went through British hands before it went anywhere else. Every piece of intelligence Germany received about Allied troop positions, supply lines, and invasion timetables was fabricated, reviewed, approved, then sent. Germany thought it had eyes inside Britain. It had nothing but a mirror. But controlling the information was only half the problem. Germany had to trust the sources delivering it, and for that, Britain needed the right man with the right voice. His name was Juan Pujol Garcia. Garcia was not a spy. He was a Spaniard with no military background, no intelligence training, and no government affiliation. What he had was audacity. In 1941, Garcia walked into the British embassy in Lisbon and volunteered to spy for the Allies. They turned him away. He walked next door to the German embassy and made the same offer. They said yes. Garcia went back to his apartment, invented a cover story about traveling to London, and began sending Berlin fabricated intelligence reports. He created subagents. He gave them names, jobs, home addresses, wives, debts, grievances. He wrote detailed personality sketches so Berlin could assess their reliability. At the peak of his solo operation, Garcia was running a network of 27 imaginary sources that Germany believed were active, credible, and on the ground. British intelligence found him in 1942. This time, they let him in. Under the code name Garbo, Garcia became the most trusted source in Germany's wartime intelligence network. He wrote long, elaborate reports. He described troop movements, ammunition dumps, divisional commanders, unit morale. All of it invented, all of it believed. Berlin's handlers praised him repeatedly. His controller at German High Command called him irreplaceable. He was one man in a rented room with a typewriter. Here is what separated Garbo from every other wartime deception. It was not just what he told Germany before D-Day, it was what he told them after. June 6, 1944. Within hours of the Normandy landings going public, Garbo radioed Berlin with an urgent transmission. Normandy was a feint, he said. A diversion. His network of sources across England was reporting massive troop concentrations still staged along the Thames estuary. General George Patton's 1st United States Army Group, nearly 1 million men, remained in position. The real blow had not yet landed. It was coming at Pas-de-Calais, the shortest crossing, the fastest route to the German heartland, the obvious target all along. Germany's military analysts read the report. It matched everything else they believed about Allied intentions. It confirmed what their own generals had been telling Hitler for months. Garbo's controller forwarded the message personally to Adolf Hitler. Hitler had already ordered 2 SS Panzer divisions to begin moving toward the Normandy beachhead. After reading Garbo's transmission, he countermanded the order. The divisions held position for 48 hours. 48 hours was enough. By the time German armor started moving toward Normandy in force, Allied engineers had already brought heavy equipment ashore. Supply corridors were open. Reinforcements were crossing the Channel in numbers that could not be stopped by a delayed reserve. Germany waited at Calais for 6 more weeks. 46 days after the landings at Normandy, Wehrmacht commanders were still positioning reserves along the Calais coast, waiting for an army that had never existed. When the panzers finally reached Normandy, they faced a beachhead 40 miles deep, defended by more than 1 million Allied troops. The window had closed. After the war, German intelligence reviewed everything. They examined Garbo's network, his transmissions, the records of his 27 sub-agents. Their post-war analysis concluded the network had been legitimate. They never discovered it was one man with a typewriter. Britain awarded Garcia the Member of the British Empire. Germany had already given him the Iron Cross in 1944 for services to the Reich. He is the only man in the Second World War to receive military honors from both sides of the same conflict. The soldiers at Omaha Beach took sand they had no right to keep. The Rangers climbed cliffs at Pointe du Hoc with their hands. The paratroopers at Sainte-Mère-Église held road junctions through a full night against superior numbers. They did what history remembers. They are the ones in the photographs. But in a Lisbon apartment in 1941, a man with no orders and no clearance sat down and invented 27 people. And those 27 people Germany trusted more than its own generals. How many wars since then have turned on the same thing? Not firepower, not terrain, not numbers, but who controlled what the enemy believed? And whose name do we still not know? Word count, approximately 940 vertical bar est. Runtime, 6:15 at 150 WPM,